Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Shay Ryan Douglas, and today we've got a really exciting show for you on Dr. E TV, bringing you conscious media right to your home, uncensored, live, and for you, ad-free. This is a really exciting day because we got an incredible, amazing conscious filmmaker on the show with us today. His name's Ben Joseph Stewart. He's made some incredible films and series available live on Gaia. But today we're going to be really diving into awakening, integration, psychedelics, and looking at the current narratives surrounding the world that we find ourselves in. It's a really interesting topic to dive into. We've got Dr. Espen here with Ben, who's going to be hosting the show. And I just want to invite you to join us in the uncensored version. We are showing you this through Facebook, through YouTube, through all the live social media platforms. However, what we're going to do is invite you to join Dr. E TV, which is a subscription-based platform. However, we are going to go deeper and open up the conversation around what's really going on without the concern of being censored, deplatformed, or sharing our truth, which is what we're really going to be doing in this process, because there is so much going on in the world right now. And this is a very relevant conversation to be having in how we can serve ourselves and also serve humanity. Huge, huge talking point. So thank you so much for joining me, Dr. E and Ben. Dr. Espen, I know Ben is a huge fan of yours. Could you just give us a little introduction and how you guys found each other?
Absolutely, will do. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this live call. I'm here with Ben Joseph Stewart, and I remember when I first arrived in Australia, 2005, I started looking for new ways of living, new ways of interacting with my environment, new ways of healing, new ways of educating myself consciously. And it wasn't many years after that where I came across some of Ben's work. He's got incredible work on Gaia. Go and check that out. It's gaia.com/Ben, I believe. And then I came across Esoteric Agenda 1. And that really was a major awakening for me because I had not come across such work before, such intelligence before, such levels of looking at the world outside of the standard lens. And I learned about maritime admiralty law and all of the things that you've been teaching for so many years. And that really was, Ben, honestly, one of the first episodes in my life where I've had a major aha moment. And from then, it's been a deep dive into all things unseen and into consciousness. So I just really want to say thank you, Ben. And it's an absolute privilege to hang out with you today and to talk.
Yeah, man, what an intro. I very much so appreciate it. Yeah, man, Esoteric Agenda, that was a big wake-up call for me as well. Just making that was such a learning process and learning about everything that you had mentioned there, but really just stepping outside safely, because I tried to do it with a little bit of a calm tone. And giving some like a twist ending, which would be like, you know, for a film that dives into uncomfortable narratives, I tried to give a lot of hope towards the end. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's really more of like an artist. I tried to do what I always did in a band, which was move people emotionally into a place that could empower them. And with films, I feel like it's the beautiful thing about it is you can like shake up their world. But if you do that, it's incumbent upon you. It's your duty to help them organize better than they had it beforehand. So, you know, I'm glad it had that effect on you. It definitely had that effect on me, just researching it and doing it. And I really do appreciate being here. The fact that, you know, here we are having this conversation many years later, I have no doubt in my mind that this is the orchestration of something much bigger than both of us.
Aho, brother. Amen. And it's really special for those of you just watching. Go check out Ben's work, benjosephstewart.com. You've got him on Gaia as well. I know some of your work, Psychedelica is incredible. I know you've got a lot of good stuff out on Gaia there as well. Awakening Infinity News on YouTube. We'll touch base on a lot of this sort of stuff, but a good man to follow. And also, as we dive deep into this content, it's also important to keep an open mind. You know, as some of us might have been familiar with some of this information, but it may also be new information for you. And if that is the case, then we must look at this with a new set of awareness, with a heightened level of awareness, so we can ask the question, what if? And explore. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong, good or bad. And as you always speak to so beautifully, Ben, this is not us projecting anything upon anyone, but rather asking good questions, exploring conscious content, and then for each of the viewers and listeners to really explore this within themselves and to find the answers within.
Yeah. Thank you for that, because I one of the main things I find is that bringing up uncomfortable topics is best done through questions, and then when people have some kind of a reaction to it, engaging with them from the space that a mother or a father would with their child who's upset with them, and you want to bring balance back. You want to bring it back to the conversation, and remind that, like, if we want to have an awakening, if we want to follow a spiritual path, it really does always come back down to humility. And that in that humility, it's acknowledging we don't know. And if we want to learn, you have to at least humble yourself and say, I don't know. So what do I think I know that I actually don't? And that comes by asking questions. And I love the root word of that is quest. It means you have to set out on a quest, meaning you have to see different things, hear different things, come in contact with different, people, ideas, concepts, and allow them in. If you don't allow them in, then you're just carrying your armor with you. And that doesn't mean you have to buy everything hook, line, and sinker and believe everything. But, really, I love this thing that Tom Campbell, he's the author of My Big Toe. He's super into quantum physics and remote viewing and things like of that nature. But he says the most powerful state of mind we can be in is hugging the line between skepticism and open-mindedness, but not the extreme, because the extreme of skepticism is cynicism. And that's, I don't believe anything regardless of the evidence. And the extreme of open-mindedness is gullibility, where I believe everything regardless of the evidence. So being skeptical and open-minded at the same time sounds impossible, but it's really holding the paradox. It's like being in the left and right hemisphere at the same time. And I think not only is it possible, it is the path of awakening. So, in a sense, why not do that as an artist? Try and find ways to keep bringing up these things that challenge our core beliefs to cause for the real authentic self to start emerging.
Oh, beautiful. It sounds like the wisdom that sometimes comes through in psychedelic medicines, and I know we're going to ask that question a little bit later. So on that notion of conscious information, of finding answers, with an overload of information and a whole different variety of narratives out there now, how do you feel a person can find their own truth? What might be the quest in that?
I guess first I would have to clarify what that word truth even means. For the most part, I think that many of us, we're so stuck in our intellect, and that's such a beautiful aspect of consciousness, but it's very much so overdone, especially in the West. And I feel like for the most part, we become confused thinking that truth has to do with information and concepts and ideas, things that you can wrap your head around, and that must be truth. And I feel because of that one confusion or misconception, that partial truth, if you will, then we can give way to major institutions that we have that say, well, what is truth? It's what you can prove with science. And then, well, how do you prove science? Facts and evidence-based things along those lines. For the most part, if you take a look at our tendencies, it's to do the same thing as groupthink. It's to believe the herd. If you have the numbers, if there's the institution, if you hear it enough times, if it's in enough papers and publications, then it's easier to just accept it as the bedrock of reality and not question it. And we as a species, especially in the age of information, which we're in, it's kind of unnerving to say, I don't know, because we like to have conclusions. We don't like these open loops, because then it doesn't help us feel safe. When we have conclusions, when we feel like we have a grip on the world, then we can feel safer. And so for anyone who's done plant medicines, or they've had, like, let's say, a rude awakening, the first thing that starts to be stripped from you in those awakening moments is the notion that you have a grip on reality. And it's the notion that you know what things are. And so when that starts to come down, the first tendency is, I don't like this, I don't want it, this feels bad, it feels unnatural. And talk to anybody who's gone and done ayahuasca, or ibogaine, or had a healthy dose of any kind of plant medicine. Anybody who has meditation, it's harder to get there, because I think most people, before they get to that point, they convince themselves analytically that they need to fidget. So their body doesn't relax, and their fascial tissues don't relax enough to where ancient stuck memories can liberate themselves. And we don't think that we got scared and ran away. We just think, oh, I had to pee, or I need to do something else, or I guess I've reached it, I'm going to get up and stop. Breath work can do it. So these are ways that we can help find our truth. But I guess I haven't answered what truth is, and I'll take the Taoist way and say that it's not something that I could even answer. I will say this, though: it isn't comprised of information, concepts, or ideas. It is a state of being that I believe has these components to it, but is not limited to it. It has the component of unconditional love. It has the tendency to want to hold space for people to heal, rather than to want something back in return, to serve unconditionally. And it also does what I said earlier. It can hold skepticism and open-mindedness. It's not this kind of love that, like, oh, I love you and everything you say is right. And no, it can be firm if it needs to, and that's tough love. And I think we were talking earlier about tough love and what that can feel like. And many of the times when we are being confronted with truth, sometimes it's easier. And I'm not, saying that everyone does this, but I know that I even have this tendency, and I made it my life to discover these things and to overcome these moments where, when I'm being confronted with truth, I have the tendency to make an excuse, to step away from the awakening process, and to say, that's your bag, I don't buy it, I'm going to go over here into my echo chamber where people say the things that I already believe, right? And I think we all have these tendencies. So how can we find our truth? You need to start having different conversations, researching from different angles. If all you're doing is researching, you need to step away and maybe go into nature and listen for a while. But you need to do things differently. You need to shake out of your patterns, because it's our patterns that hold us in a static pattern instead of awakening. And awakening, there's not a point once you're awoken. I love the idea of enlightenment, but I kind of feel that even those who are enlightened, it's not like they're not on some kind of a path. It's not a plateau that you can't go any farther from. So I would say, as long as you're learning and you acknowledge you're the student of life, that's the best way to center yourself on the path. Stay in the heart, too. Stay in the heart.
Beautiful. What a way to look at it, and redefining what we think truth is, instead of understanding or believing or perceiving and therefore achieving that it's something that we just take as a belief system, but rather that sounded like a quest indeed. That's really beautiful, man. Thank you for shining some light on what that truly could mean for us. So, I mean, you've done a lot of work. You're a conscious filmmaker. You do incredible work with music, a lot of education online, which I follow regularly. So my question to you is, since you've done so much work within, and I really do feel like we have the opportunity to speak from that place once we've done the work within. And as I say, those who don't go within, they go without. And you've spent a lot of time looking within and finding answers. How do you feel, where might be the best place for someone to start to unlock that innate human potential, that quantum potential that dwells within?
Yeah, man, I love this question. I did an entire series on Gaia. I didn't do this as a gimmick. I didn't realize it, but I'm actually drinking out of a Gaia mug they gave me.
Yeah, you did some great work with Gaia. I think you worked in Gaia for a while too, didn't you?
Yeah, I worked with Gaia for 2 years until I realized that I love them, but I'm not corporate, and I need the freedom to day by day kind of decide how I'm going to approach the work. But I'm still working with them. So right now tomorrow I'm recording the narration for Psychedelica season 2. And that's going to be pretty rad. And I want to get to your question, but I just need to say for Psychedelica season 2, there's a UFC Hall of Famer, Rashad Evans. If you know who that is, he was on Joe Rogan.
Yep.
Not too long ago. He's pretty amazing. So he's on that. We got Dennis McKenna, and then a bunch of newer names like Patricia Eastman, Maya Shatreat, Dr. Joe Tafur, which we had last time, Alexandra Tanaus, and Kimba Aram, who was on last time. So this is going to be a really interesting micro series. To answer your question, to unlock our limitless potential. That was really, so I did an entire series called Limitless, which was all about that. And it ended on an episode called The Bigger Picture. And the reason why I ended on that episode is because the bigger picture of our human potential is not individual. It is collective. It really is. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of the times we are thinking, like, when you think of human potential, the things that I've found most people, it conjures in their mind, like even when I just say, yeah, I've done a show on human potential, and they're like, oh, you mean like, Dave Asprey and stuff like that. And I'm like, yes, because I've talked with Dave, but what do you mean by Dave Asprey? And they mean, well, like optimizing your food, optimizing your mind, optimizing, like the way you move, just, tweaking all those like loose ends. And like, yes, but like really our human potential, our highest potential, mine is not me. My highest potential is when I acknowledge that this identity is also, it's a very beautiful one, but it's a shackle, so our identity is beautiful and it's amazing, and we can do a lot of work from there. But I really believe that we do our best work when we acknowledge, when we lose ourselves in the service of others. And so that's really what I mean. Like our potential is a path, and it's a path beyond what we believe we are, who and what we are. But then I also have to bring it back to the Dave Aspreys, the Ben Greenfields, the Tim Ferrisses, the people that are working on those things. It starts with the practical things. If you don't have a clean diet, obviously that needs to be addressed. If you have very restricting beliefs and ideas, that definitely needs to be addressed. But the thing that I think I like the most about it, that I feel it kind of got overlooked, was I started getting into movement training, natural and dynamic movement training. So I trained with like Naudi Aguilar from Functional Patterns, that really goes into showing like we have a fascial circuit board inside of us, and these connective tissues, they connect all the way inside the cells, but they connect to everything inside the body. And in healthy tissues, it's like a fiber optic system. And so it literally, I showed in Kymatica that Fritz Pop shows that we are biophoton emitters. We emit biophotons and we share information. And I've even found that it goes even deeper than that since then, but let's just stay there. If you have healthy fascia, you can move dynamically, and then you have a straight spine. And what is yoga all about? Like getting your spine limber. So a lot of the movement that you do in yoga is to prepare you to sit still in silence for long periods of time and to go into meditation. But you can't do that, as I said before, if you have too much stiffness in your body. And I mean, like, how do we start the path? Most people are dehydrated. You need to drink more water. But that water is not going to make it into your tissues, deeply into your tissues, if you're not moving and squeezing all of that out, doing dynamic movements, you know? And so I found that we have to stay at the basics, but we have to shoot for infinity and divinity in a way. So we have to have our intention in mind to continually learn and to continually grow. And that has to mean we grow past our ideas. We have to get past infighting and having beliefs that separate us from one another. We have to feed our body well, but then we also have to serve our community and remember why we came here. We didn't come here to eat and survive until we die, right? We came here to serve each other with love, to learn on playground and play school earth. That's what I think it is. It's a playground and it's a school, and we're never not kids unless we convince ourselves we're no longer children. And we're never not students unless we convince ourselves that we know enough and we don't need to learn anymore. And I think those are traps. So that's where our highest limitless potential lies, is in, again, it comes back to the question, asking ourselves the core questions, not the very nuanced questions, but who am I? Hasn't been answered yet. What am I? What is this experience that I'm having? What am I meant to do? Why am I here? Many of us, it seems so rudimentary that's like you can go off and spout a bunch of philosophy and then you skip over it and then you try and answer all the nuanced intellectual things, because those are things that we can convince ourselves we have a grasp on. But the core questions, the foundation upon which all those other questions lie, we haven't answered yet, not even in science. So that's kind of, I guess that's what I would say about finding our highest potential. Is it comes back to humility and asking ourselves those real questions.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And these are the exact questions that we're going to be exploring. So guys, in the comment section, you'll have a link there to join Dr. ETV for the uncensored version. We're going to talk all things epic. We're going to talk about human potential. We're going to explore psychedelics and the type of medicine that many have heard about and many have done, and how that might play a key in human evolution and in personal healing. I know from my journeys and from your journeys, I'm looking forward to hearing your story on that, Ben, but huge awakenings from using the best of Mother Nature and what she has to offer within the healing sacred ceremony. And of course, the tools to support humanity's awakening process, both within what's happening and also without. So is there anything else you want to add to the end, Ben, before we hop on the uncensored version?
Yeah, man, let's leave people with a little bit of a cliffhanger. I think this coming decade is going to be more radically different than even the past 100 years. And I think technology has a big, big role to play in that. And I think humanity will have to match what technology is doing and the acceleration of technology with spirituality. And I'm not saying that we need to match it, or, in order to survive. I think some people are going to be, insanely afraid of what's happening. And I think the ones who have a little bit of skepticism and open-mindedness to it, they'll realize that it's awe-inspiring, but only if it brings you back within. Not if you end up feeling like you need to rely on this external technology, because this is the greatest technology and nothing even comes close to it yet. There may be things that fascinate you, but this is the greatest technology. So this next decade, let's talk about it in the uncensored section.
Ben Joseph Stewart, absolutely inspirational as always. Thank you so much for guiding us on this beautiful journey, and click the link to hop into the paid version, guys. And if not, have a beautiful day. Thanks again, Ben.
Yeah, man. So honored to be here.
Let's do this.
Excellent. Just before we close, I just want to invite all of you guys. Dr. ETV is a subscription-based platform. However, you do get a 7-day free trial. So if you just follow the link in the comments, join us where it is ad-free, uncensored, and with a cancel at any time. video-based conscious media platform. We've got some great videos already on there where Dr. Espen fleshes out and unpacks the 8 areas of life, and we have some amazing uncensored and live videos coming straight to you, to your home. So thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, Tim.